So I actually want to take this chance to go into a proposal I've made that a lot of people view as extreme. But then the more you learn about it, the less extreme it actually is. It's actually very practical. Because I think we need to shut down the FBI.
Okay.
So stay with me for a sec. Stay with me for a sec.
Okay.
And you're a reader, right? So I'm going to recommend a book to you. My wife's a faster reader than me. She's ahead of me on it. But it's called G-Man. It's a Pulitzer Prize winning book. It's about the history of this institution and J. Edgar Hoover and the way in which the institution was built. And it's fascinating, but it had some issues. Still the J. Edgar Hoover building of the FBI. So it's still an institution that celebrates his legacy. But as a practical matter, right, at the local level, you have local police and you've got local prosecutors. You don't have this separate giant bureaucratic morass sitting in between. Well, it turns out at the federal level, you have institutions like the U.S. Marshals, which have, I think, by and large, I have no evidence to suggest this has been corrupted at all. They bust up child sex trafficking rings. They've done a lot of good work. Yeah. You got the DEA on the drug cases, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network of the Treasury. So if you take that FBI, right, there's 35,000 people who work there. 20,000 of them are in back office functions, but really have taken on a policy-making role, right? It's not like they're enforcing the law. They're kind of deciding what the policy ought to be. I'm going to send them packing, and they got to find honest work in the private sector or whatever they'd like to do, but it's not going to be working for the taxpayer. But the 15,000 people who are actually on the front lines, we'll move them to the U.S. Marshals, to the DEA, and so on. And then you actually have drained the lifeblood out of a bureaucracy where, to bring it back to Omid's question, where a lot of the original sin in the weaponization of government in these cases, not just today, I mean, dating back to threatening Martin Luther King with suicide, blackmailing him, it's an institution that was built when you have a redundant bureaucracy. It's almost like a law of physics.
Okay.
A redundant bureaucracy is a formula for corruption. So, it's less extreme than it sounds.
Yeah, I mean, and just by the way, for the record, I met a lot of people at the CIA, and they've all been really high integrity people. I just want to be, I'm not saying that there aren't some bad apples in any organization, but man, I've not really met a bad person.
And I think the 15,000, I mean, so when I say shut it down, that doesn't mean that everyone's a bad person. Yeah. Because any of them are a bad person. It's something about the nature of a redundant bureaucracy where, like Elon, I think one thing that's happened is specialization, right? When people are specialized, they tend to be more effective. When they become generalists, maybe less so, at least in government, I think. And those 15,000, if we move them to their specialized functions, I think that actually becomes a more practical way of effectuating the laws rather than the sort of armed manner.
You're saying basically that all the bases are covered by other organizations, and so we distribute the personnel to those organizations rather than have the redundancy that exists today. But you're confident that if we did so, that there would not be gaps in important crimes that need to be dealt with.
And not only would there not be gaps, we would actually be more effective.
That's what you're saying. I'm just phrasing. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.